Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor. In today's video, I am going to show you an interesting game played between Anish Giri and Arjun Erigaisi. It was from the Shenzhen Loggang Chess Masters and it was round number 3. I am showing this game from Arjun's perspective so that you have a better perspective. So without much delay, let's get started. With white pieces, Anish starts the game with a 1d4 and we have knight f6 by Arjun. Pawn to c4, gaining space. And after e6, trying to play the Nimzo Indian. And here, interestingly, Anish Giri invites the Nimzo Indian with knight c3. After bishop to b4, he plays pawn to e3. This is the classical or the main line of the Nimzo Indian. So after e3, here Arjun simply castles. This is the benefit or the advantage of playing the Nimzo Indian, where you castle quickly and then you concentrate on the center. So bishop to d2 unpins the knight and then pawn to d5, striking in the center. Questions the bishop, and here the most common way to play this position is to bring the bishop back to e7 and save the bishop for the rest of the game. But in the game he takes bishop takes c3. This is like the second most common move in the current position. So bishop takes c3 and then pawn to b6, trying to finish out of the bishop. Knight to f3, knight to e4, taking advantage of the undefended square on the center of the board. So queen to c2, maybe he's preparing the move bishop d3 here. So bishop to a6, trying to put pressure on the c4 square here. Bishop to d3 anyway. And then here he plays knight to d7, just trying to support his brother knight with a knight advance to the f6 square. So bishop takes e4 was played, and then d takes e4. So here if you simply take on e4, it is going to benefit black. It's because he is not only regaining the pawn, but it is very difficult for you to castle for the rest of the game. So that is why there is no hurry in capturing that one. So he plays knight to d2 and then pawn to f5 holds the center pawn, because it's very important for a pawn for the Arjun. So he castles on the queen side. On the queen side, and then he plays bishop to b7, pawn to f4. If you do the end position, it is going to simply help white to continue his attacking plan on the king side. So he plays knight to f6, trying to close down the position. After rook h g1, he is actually preparing the move pawn to g5. So here to counter this idea, Arjun goes on the queen side by playing pawn to b5. Pawn to d5, trying to activate the bishop here. That is the point of capturing with the bishop on c3. Otherwise, the bishop is going to sit and watch the game without doing much. So he opens the bishop's line. So e takes d5 and then he goes for pawn to g4. So here the best way to recapture is to simply play c takes b5. So c takes b5 is the way to go. But in the game he plays g4 and then f takes g4 and then he captures on b5. So here if you are black here, you want to do attack on the queen side. So you have to, or you need the open files to work with. So he tries this move pawn to c5, and here Anish Giri simply captures on c6. After bishop takes c6, as you can see, the c file is completely open now. But here the queen is on the same line against the rook, so he takes advantage of the pinned pawn. So he plays knight c4 and then rook c8, and then he puts the knight in the center of the board, and it's a very good outpost for the knight. So bishop to d7 and then king to b1, and then he plays bishop to f5. So trying to control some of the squares on the king side as well. The queen to d2, getting out of the c file. Queen b6, activating the queen, and then bishop to d4, attacking the queen, and then queen drops back to b7. So here he plays h3, just trying to sacrifice a pawn to open the line against the king to attack. So after g takes h3, Anish plays rook to g5, threatening the undefended bishop. And here Arjun simply defends, or conveniently defends it, with the move knight to e8. The knight move is a very great move, I would say. It's because the king and the queen as well as the knight is defending g7, so he doesn't have to worry about the pressure coming to the g7 square. And also, if needed, the knight can always go to d6 and then to c4 square, so where it can attack or create some threats on the queen side as well. So he plays rook dg1 anyway, and then rook to c7. Now we have like four defenders now. So knight to g4, threatening to win the bishop by the tactics. So he covers that square with the queen a6, queen to h2, trying to recover the pawn which he lost. So bishop takes g4 and then rook 5 takes g4. This is very interesting choice by Anish Giri here. It's because if you take with the other rook, it looks like you are improving the rook's position, but it is actually not, because white is not. It's because you are weakening the back rank. Then you can play this quiet move, that is queen to c8, just forming this little battery and threatening mate. If you play any random move such as queen takes h3, then it is mate in 4, just like this. You can play mate in 4. So that's why it looks like an improving move, but it is actually not. So you have to capture with the other rook, keeping the back rank guarded. So knight f6 threatening the rook now. Rook 4 to g3, maybe to recover the pawn with the rook maybe. So he plays rook to fc8, forming this little battery. And also there is a tactics on the c file as well as with the queen, because the queen is having this nice control on the d3 as well as the c4 square, where it can attack the king. So here Anish tries this move, pawn to f5, and then Arjun plays pawn to h5, and then Anish simply takes the pawn on h3, and it is actually a blunder here actually, or this is the first and last mistake of the game. So why it's a mistake, or what is the right way for white to continue the game? It is to simply improve the rook's position. Either you put the rook on g5 or g6, or even bishop f6 is a fine move to consider. Bishop f6, and then so bishop, will say bishop f6, this is interesting choice, and then the queen is going to simply take. So and you still have the pressure on the g file, or now you are allowed to capture the h3 pawn. But in the game, what happened, he hurried and captured the pawn immediately, and then it is blunder. It's because you have a back rank weakness, as well as you have the queen is coming to the the active square, such as I mentioned earlier, d3 as well as c4 square are weak. So you can pause the video and try to win the game for Arjun in case if you want. Black has to play rook to c1 check, and that was played in the game. Rook takes c1, and then queen to d3 check, and then the king is forced to go to a2, and then you take the rook here. Now the problem is, say for example, if you make any random move, just a random move, just like this, and now you play queen c4 check. This is like the pattern which you already saw. So this is the mating threat that Arjun is having in this position. So considering this, this is already lost. You cannot save this position already. So he tries this tricky move, rook takes g7 check. Why it's tricky? It's because if you accept the sacrifice, or if you play king to h8, you are going to lose the game. If you accept the sacrifice, probably it is a draw if you follow it up with the right moves for black. King f8, queen d6 check, king f7, and then queen e6 check, and then king has to go to f8, and then you run into the perpetual check and get the draw. But in this position, if you play king g7, it's a mate. Okay, so instead of capturing or accepting the sacrifice, if you play king to h8, then you play rook to c7, rook to b7. So the point is that after rook to b7, you are guarding the b2 square. Say for example, if you play queen to b1 check, I can simply come to b3, and then queen d3 check, and then the king can walk up the board and save himself. So that is why accepting the sacrifice as well as king to h8 move is going to benefit white a lot, especially king h8. So in the game, he plays the only move which is going to win for Arjun, that is king to f8, and then there is no follow-up or good follow-up available for white. Now he tries a4, trying to create some escape square, but then he plays this quiet move and threatening mate again. Pawn to b3, rook to c2 check, and then king a3. And in this position, after a5, Arjun playing a5, Anish Giri simply resigns the game. It's because he cuts off the only escape square for the king, that is b4 square. Say for example, if you play some random move, maybe like rook g2, and then queen c1 check, and then blacks, and then it's mate. So going back in this position, after this blunder by Anish, where he played rook takes c1 finally, and here he tried rook takes g7. If you are wondering what happens if I play rook to g2, just guard the second rank. In this position also, we can play this quiet move, that is again queen to d1 to guard the b3 square now, and also you are preparing the move rook to a1. So you have to guard this by playing pawn to b3. So in this case, you play rook to c2 check, bishop blacks, and then you play pawn to d4, creating the pass pawn. So e takes d4, and then you should not push the pass pawn immediately. Rather, you simply exchange the rooks, and then once the queen takes, and then you push forward with the pass pawn and win the game. So that is why rook to g2 is also not going to work or help Anish in this position. So anyway, in this position, after king to a3 and then a5, he simply resigned the game. So what do you think about this game? Let me know your thoughts, ideas in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and still if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, consider subscribing to the channel. And as usual, this is Chess Wiser, your wise choice to improve your chess.